Control Loras are one of the most important developments in stable diffusion over the last few months. They're based on the idea of control nets, and control nets basically came about in February. And the idea was you would use, instead of just using words to define the image to act as the prompt, what you would do is you would also use an image to define the prompt. So the prompt would be both words and image. And whilst control nets initially were activated around March of this year, control Loras are very new. They've only appeared since really about 3 weeks after SDXL came into being. So they've only been around for less than a week, and they're still fairly new. We're still getting used to them, but they are so much better than control nets. And control nets are basically something that we can use, but I think in almost every situation where you'd want to use a control net, you would probably in the end up using a control LoRa. So this is part of the evolution of stable diffusion from ideas just coming through at the rate of a train running at full speed. The improvements that come with control LoRas are so significant that I think as we start working with SDXL, larger image sizes, I can't see many people working with control nets unless it's absolutely necessary to. Now at the moment there are only just there are a handful of control LoRas, so we don't know exactly how well they will work, and we don't know how well they'll compare against the control nets. But if they work nearly as well as control nets, because control nets are extremely slow, very, very unproductive. They're very good, but they take a long time and a lot of system resources. Unless the control LoRas are much worse than control nets, I think the future is going to be probably more the control LoRas than the control nets. But the two are very closely integrated, so I'm not suggesting that control nets will disappear altogether. We'll cover control nets a little bit later on, but it's not really my top priority for this video. So control LoRas allow us to take an image, turn it into a pre-processed image, and then use that image to influence the output. We still need a prompt. So with this particular scheme, with this particular workflow, we've got the image which is coming in. Now, because we are working with SDXL and control LoRas are really only going to work with SDXL at the moment, they're not going to work with SD 1.5. What I did was that I went into Canva and just downloaded a whole bunch of images, which are all 1024 by 1024 in terms of size, about 1 megapixel. And we are using these for testing out these control LoRas. Control LoRas so far seem really cool. What I'm going to show you here is basically this image here, which you select by clicking on this option here. You can then select any image you want from your hard drive. I won't be able to give you these because they're copyrighted. So I'll ask you to use your own images. Once you've chosen the image, it basically goes through a process that we're fairly familiar with. We've got the SDXL base here, which is the 1.0 version of the model for SDXL. Then we have something called the load control net model. What this allows us to do is to load the control net. In this particular case, I'm going with this guy here. This is the LoRa Canny, and LoRa Canny, control LoRa Canny, gives us this type of image. It's a binary image, black and white, and it just basically tells us where the main features of the photograph are. And you can actually change how it renders by changing the threshold. So we could increase the threshold, say, to 250. And that should allow us to change slightly how this actually looks. There are other features here which we won't go into too much, but one of the important ones here is we've got a strength. So we can actually say, right, what I want you to do is to apply the control net with a high degree of strength, 1. Or we can say, I want you to process the image as you normally would for 20% of the time. And then afterwards, I want you to process the image with a bit more, with more of the involvement of the control net. So we could say start at 10%. No, I think we need to use fractions of 1. So we could say, let me just click away, start at 0.1. So that will start at 10%, and this guy will continue until 100%. Right. And if I was using a control net, the situation would be completely different. If I was running a control net, I would have to stop the recording now, then wait about 10 or 15 minutes until the control net had completed. Then I'll be able to see what it looks like, and then I'll be able to tell you whether or not it was a success. But with the control Loras, we can actually get it going, and it should finish fairly quickly. You can see how quickly it's running. We've got 30 steps. We're using a CFG of 8, Euler Ancestral. You can change this to whatever you want, basically. And it should be done fairly soon. And there we have our beautiful Cleopatra, our beautiful Egyptian queen. And you can see the prompt is basically a portrait of Queen Cleopatra wearing ancient Egyptian dress, braided hair, hair decorated Cleopatra style, background of ancient Egypt. And this is what it gave us. I think this is looking pretty nice. I don't think the background is ancient Egypt, but the background looks nice. What we might want to do is to reduce the, maybe reduce the strength of the control net. So give it a bit more freedom. What about 0.8, thereabouts? And we could also change the checkpoints. So we can change the checkpoint to maybe the Dream Shaper XL Alpha, and then see what that does. Does it produce a better Cleopatra? I like this one. I think it's pretty nice. So this is the result that we got using the Dream Shaper, and the slightly lower strength. So what's happened here is that we've got the result of the queen. Her hair is a little bit different from the original photo, and it's taken a little bit more freedom in how it's interpreted the Cani. And we've got slightly different. I mean, we can take a look at the current one, and that's the previous one. I like them both, but I think there's a bit more freedom with the lower strength that we gave to the control net. And I think also with Dream Shaper, I think it has a slightly more fantastical feel. I think with the SDXL, it looks good, but it does look a little bit like an illustration as well. So I do like that it's a little bit more photorealistic with Dream Shaper. But that's how we control the control net or the control LoRa. And I think one of the difficulties I had with the first course that I did with Comfy UI and SDXL and Stable Diffusion was a lot of students that are coming from Automatic 1111 are absolutely convinced that Automatic 1111 is the best thing ever, and that the way forward is just to repeat everything in Comfy UI that was done in Automatic 1111. Whereas I've always been aware that Comfy UI is capable of more than Automatic 1111 in terms of its efficiency in particular. And there's a different philosophy, definitely with Comfy UI compared to Automatic 1111. And I don't know if I'm actually going to demonstrate how slow the control nets are. They are deathly slow compared to, particularly with image sizes of 1024 by 1024. They're deathly slow compared to the control Loras. So I think part of the art for a automatic 1111 users is getting into the mindset that Comfy UI is a completely different platform with a completely different philosophy, and just repeating everything that happens inside of automatic 1111 is not the way forward. You have to look at what Comfy UI can do and then basically judge the software on the basis of what it can do. And sometimes you may want to go back to automatic 1111 because it does things better, but most of the time learning Comfy UI thoroughly gives you the best grounding to understand how to use it effectively. Now, how do we get these control Loras? How do we install them? Everything's new. I'll give you this file probably in its finished state, and then you can decide to experiment as much as you want. Once you've got the basic groundwork, the basic foundation, I think most of the control nets or the control Loras will work in a very similar way. The first thing that we need to do is to go to the manager, and we need to go to install custom nodes. We're going to install an extension since custom nodes are basically extensions. And really, I'm a strong believer in installing the minimum number of extensions that are viable for your workflow. So for me, the installed extensions, if we remove the search, it's just a handful, and I can get by with those. What we'll do is go into the search box and hit type in control net. We then come up with these are the installed ones. If we change this to all, we can see the available options. The ones that I've installed are just 2 out of the available ones, and it's the ControlNet preprocessor. We installed this one, and I don't think we necessarily need to install this one. So the ControlNet preprocessors, Fanovel 16, number 9, number 10, I don't think it's absolutely essential. I have installed it. I don't know if you actually need it. If you can work without it, then work without it. Let's click here and see what this is all about. Okay, so this is the project, and quick correction, it actually says the repository has been archived. So probably what you want to do is to install both of them. So this one and this one. I don't think that there are any problems I've experienced so far having both of them. The second one is definitely work in progress. However, the one, the upper one is actually archived. So it's basically a set of preprocessors for Comfy UI. There isn't a lot of useful information here, but you have got a couple of details that show you what it looks like. So we have the source, the input, the output, and we have also another one here, the soft edge head. So you can see what the actual preprocessors do here. But there's a massive amount of information, and I think you'll end up with a headache if you try to take it all in at the same time. Let's take a look at the other one, which I think is the one that replaces this one. So Comfy UI ControlNet Auxiliary. Yeah, so this is all new, still getting used to it. Comfy UI's ControlNet Auxiliary preprocessors. So these seem to be still work in progress, and we can see some of the similar images here showing you what the control net will produce, what the preprocessor will produce. Here we have the hard black and white canny, and then we have a slightly softer result. And then we have scribble, the depth. The depth is something that allows you to tell what's close to you and what's far away from you. So the brighter the object is, the brighter the area is, the closer it is to you. Uses artificial intelligence to figure out what's close to you and what's far away from you inside of the image. We've got another depth map. We've got a normal map, which is a slightly different way of looking at surfaces and how light works with them. We've got open pose. So these are hopefully at some stage we will have control Loras for all of these different features. But at the moment we've got 4 control Loras. So what I'm going to recommend is install this one. So click install on this one and click install on this one. Give it time to process between clicking install. So it will take a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes to process each command once you click on install, and then restart Comfy UI so that we actually have the preprocessors installed. Some of this stuff does take a bit of time to actually install. It can take quite a bit of time, so keep an eye on the terminal, on the command prompt. Just make sure that everything has finished installing before before you panic. Let's go ahead and take a look at where these control Loras are actually located. So inside of Hugging Face, Stability AI have released a number of control Loras. Let's go to the main page, and there's a bit of a description here. And what we see here is that there are 2 types of control Loras. That there are the rank 256 ones and the rank 128 ones. Now the rank 128 ones, you might think to yourself, oh, those are the small inferior ones, and the rank 256 ones are the big juicy professional ones. What they actually say is that the rank 256 ones are experimental, so they are not guaranteed to work properly. So use them, but don't necessarily prioritize them. Prioritize the rank 128 ones. The rank 256 ones are 738 megabytes. These ones are very manageable at 377. Now the control nets are actually at like 4.7 gigabytes, 5 gigabytes. They are huge and they're extremely painful to run, particularly if you have a less powerful system. Now, if you've got an 8 gigabyte system, you should be able to run the control Loras without too much difficulty. These guys here, when it comes to the control nets, you're going to struggle, and I won't be able to actually show you them in operation because the system just won't be able to run. We've got a Midas and Clip drop depth Lora, control Lora. And this one can be used to produce images with some sort of difference between the foreground and background, or difference between objects where the object is close to you and the object is far away. So it's literally a depth map. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Then we have Canny Edge, which we've actually used. And then there's this photograph and sketch colorizer. So what this one does, it's taken this gentleman here. I think this is an AI gentleman. I don't think this is a real photograph. And it's taken him and given him a bit of color, bit of background color, bit of skin color, and his clothing as well. It's all looking very good, very intelligent in the way it's done. And then we have another one which actually gives color to sketches, black and white sketches. There's the revision Lora. This one allows us to take 2 images and then to combine them conceptually. So if we click on here, we can actually see a little bit clearer. We choose 2 images and say, look, combine these 2 images and let's produce something wonderful. And this is what you get as a result. You get something which is conceptually similar to this and also this. So it's something similar to what used to be called style transfer, but style transfer basically on steroids, or style transfer on LSD. It's amazing to look at. Let's see what we can actually do with it. All of this stuff is very new. Now, there are other future plans to create a user interface, which is going to be a tabbed user interface, which runs on Comfy UI or other versions of Stable Diffusion. So this is work in progress, and this is something, it's in early stages, and I don't think we'll cover it, but it gives you an idea of what the future is for Stable Diffusion with Stability AI. Now, for this particular tutorial, we would go to the files and we would actually just get the 128s. I don't think we need to worry too much about the 256 ones. And then once we've got those, we're good to go. Now, inside of Comfy UI, once you've got these installed and you've restarted, you should be good to actually start using the control Lora. The process is going to involve basically taking the image which you load in. We create the preview image, which this preview image is the one that's created by the preprocessor. So that's the stuff that we've installed from GitHub. And then we apply the control net itself, and the control net is coming in from this control here. So we're using control net, the 128 ones. We can try the 256 ones and we'll see what those look like. But the 128 ones will definitely look better. Those are the ones that I think have been refined. So whilst you're gone, I actually changed the negative prompt and ran the same thing again, and it came up with this really nice image. It's a little bit more of the background looking nice with the pyramids, and the queen looking very, very Egyptian. So that was just by changing the negative prompt. I think this is probably the workflow I'm going to give you for this particular lecture. We need to show you where we put the control nets or the control Loras. So typically when working with control nets, we would go and put them inside the Comfy UI models control net. This is where they would end up. And we also put control Loras in here. So I've got a subdirectory for the control Loras, and we don't put the control Loras inside the models Loras folder. They go in the control nets. So they're a form of control net. So they would go in the control net folder, and that would allow us to access them from inside of Comfy UI.